welcome to Conscious Truth. This is Flat Earth Keys. The first Flat Earth key, number 1. I'm going to start with a bit of background information about Flat Earth theory and how I've come to the conclusions that I've come to. We'll start with Einstein, and we'll go back a bit further. If you're not aware, there was a very famous couple of experiments. A guy called Airy did an experiment in which he proved that the Earth was not moving. This was also backed up by the Michelson-Morley experiment. Both of these experiments proved that the Earth was not moving. In response to this, Einstein and Lorentz came up with their crackpot ideas, basically to explain away this idea. They first of all said that there was no ether, and they used this idea to nullify the results of Airy and Michelson-Morley. Einstein worked very closely with Georges Lemaitre, who was a Catholic Jesuit priest, who actually gave him many of his ideas. Now, that may come as a surprise to some people, but when you put it in perspective, here's Lemaitre doing some mathematical equations. When you put it in perspective, and you realize that actually Copernicus was in fact a Catholic as well, then it's not so strange. Copernicus was famous for promoting the idea that the Earth is a little ball revolving around the sun. Many people think that his book was banned by the Catholics because they were outraged, but this is actually not true. He actually went to a Catholic school. He was a Catholic. He was actually trained in the clergy. His family were all Catholics, and he was trained by Catholics. His book was also not banned immediately by the Catholic Church. It was in fact accepted, and it was only many years later, when there was public outrage about his theories, that the Catholics came on board and pretended that they were outraged as well. So that's an interesting fact that ties in with Einstein also being part of a Catholic Jesuit conspiracy. The conspiracy being to convince everyone that they that they live on a little ball. Why is it that all of these statues of the Queen and various other pictures of important people, they're always holding a ball? Why are they always holding a ball? This is all dating back to around this time when they started telling everyone that they lived on a ball. So that's another part of the puzzle there. So this shows the conspiracy, but the flat Earth model, as has been shown on the internet by various people, the flat Earth model doesn't really work because of this, the sunset. Okay. Now, how could the sun set without becoming a tiny little dot if the world was completely flat and went on forever? It couldn't. Okay. The sun would get smaller and smaller and smaller the further away it got before it descended in the sky that much to actually set. So this is, I'm afraid, all these flat Earth people like Eric Dubay and Powerland, although they've done great work exposing the fakeness of the ball Earth, I think, they have to admit really that the sunset doesn't really work on their model. I've been looking into this for quite a while, and I can't find any logical explanation of why the sun would set without getting any smaller in size. It just doesn't make sense. Until, that is, I came up with what I personally think is the final truth about the nature of the world we live in. The fact that we actually live not on a ball, not on a planet, but not also on a flat plane, as many people have thought. But I think we actually live on we actually do live on a flat plane, put it like that. But that flat plane is actually curved in a hyperspace. So, if you don't know what that means, look up hypercube or look up fourth dimensional shapes somewhere, and you will find that it's very commonly accepted fact that higher dimensions of space can exist. So it's really, nothing particularly strange about it. In fact, I find it quite funny, to be honest, that you see people like Lawrence Krauss, one of my most unfavored, disgusting people that I know of in this world at the moment. He actually goes on conferences and talks about the fourth dimension and stuff, and I find it quite funny to think that we actually are living in a fourth dimensional shape, and those kind of atheist cult morons don't even know it. But that brings me on to another important part of the whole story, the conspiracy and why. But that'll be the next video. Will be why the deception and why the conspiracy. This gives you a good idea of how hypercube shapes are. So, yeah. See my other video which shows the Möbius strip and explains the idea of how we could be actually living in a fourth dimensional shape. It's not really that impossible at all, and is, the way I see it, is the most likely explanation. Okay, see you on the next edition of Flat Earth Keys.